Hey, David here with Freedom Electric Marine. Let's talk saltwater. You know, we get asked all the time over at Freedom Electric Marine, do you have a saltwater version? Well, the answer is our twin trawler X10 is used in saltwater all over the place. As a matter of fact, I'm in saltwater right now. I'm over in Mosquito Lagoon on the east coast of Florida, in central Florida, just north of Cape Canaveral, where they have those little rocket launches. You know, we've also got owners all the way from Padre Island in Texas to, the East Coast, as far north. I mean, we've got them way up north. I know we've got one for sure in New Jersey that uses it in saltwater. We've got them in, North Carolina, South Carolina, of course, all of Florida, southern, northern. We have saltwater users, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all over the place. And so here's the thing. When you're using the boat in saltwater, it's really no different than using it anywhere else because the motors are recessed in the hull, they're protected. So if you're running into oyster beds or things like that, it's not an issue with the twin trawler because those motors are protected. And usually a saltwater trolling motor has special paint or something like that. It's because it needs to be a little tougher because it gets banged around a little bit more. Now with the twin trawler, they're, like I said, they're recessed, so they're already protected. Now, some of the advantages of using the twin trawler in saltwater are the same advantages that we've talked about already in these other videos I've done. Fishing in the wind, shallow water, of course, shallow water, like I said, Mosquito Lagoon. But, there's some other things about using it in saltwater, especially with here in Mosquito Lagoon, that makes it kind of unique. And let me just give you an example of red fishing. Now, the redfish is a popular fish. They fish it in Mosquito Lagoon and, of course, other places. But one of the ways that they like to fish is they call it sight fishing, which means they like to look and see if they can see them tailing or see if they can, they usually make like a V in the water, things like that. And so what happens is you come into these zones that's really shallow. You can't, fly through these zones. And actually in Mosquito Lagoon, they've got some areas that you can't have your motor in there because you can tear up the grass beds and things like that. So you have to use a trolling motor. And so what they do, they also call them pole zones. And so what they do is they come into these areas, they cut the motor, and they pole. They use their poles to get around in these areas. Now with the twin trawler, you can use your twin trolling motors to go in these areas and look around, and you could even be fishing if you want as well. And one of the things they talk about out here in Mosquito Lagoon is that the wind picks up. It makes it impossible to sight fish, so what they call, you're casting blind or fishing blind, things like that, and you really don't know. Now, the problem that you run into, though, is if you're in a kayak or if you're in one of these bigger boats and you're poling or paddling, guess what? You're not fishing. With the twin trawler, no paddling, you're fishing all the time. So you can actually go through these areas if it's a little windy and maybe you can't sight fish, and you can at least be casting while you're going through these areas. And it's a pretty big deal when you're fishing in Mosquito Lagoon. Okay, if we're talking saltwater, we got to talk kayaks, right? I know a lot of you are probably considering kayaks and you don't know whether to go with the twin trawler or the kayak. Well, let me tell you, I'm going to just shoot it to you straight. If you need to carry it on your car or if you need to walk it down to a fishing spot for you, you might want to have a kayak. But if you're planning on trailering it, if you're looking at like a Hobie Pro Angler, and those are usually trailered. Those are big, long boats, so those aren't usually thrown on the top of a car. At least I'm not aware of anybody that's doing that. You need to seriously consider the twin trawler. The twin trawler is going to be more comfortable, hands down. It's going to be more stable, hands down. You're not going to tip this boat over. You're going to fish all day. It's just a different fishing experience, and the cost is really about the same. The twin trawler might be just a little bit more, but if you wanted to get a trolling motor and some accessories to that Hobie Pro Angler, you're going to be spending as much money as a twin trawler. So for those of you that are considering the kayak, seriously consider the twin trawler. Think about where you're going to fish. Think of the type of fishing you want to do. I think you're going to decide to go with the twin trawler. So if you've been considering getting a twin trawler and you're wondering if you can use it in saltwater, the answer is absolutely yes. Get your twin trawler and enjoy using it in saltwater. As a matter of fact, be sure and watch the last video in this series where I call it Memorable Moments, and you can see me catching a red, pretty good size red, right here in Mosquito Lagoon. Take care. See ya.